industry has changed since 90s? Like in terms of content, audience preference, and technology, how do you think industry has evolved over the years?
Well, we always take one step forward and two step backward. That always happens. It goes through a cycle. If you take 90s, for example, in cinema, you had three kinds of cinema being made. There was one kind which appealed to the city folks a lot, which is like Dil Wale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, you know, romantic. The main lead are NRIs from abroad. So there's this expat like um, uh, feeling there. And the Indian audiences, they love to look abroad or so called foreign countries to feel good while they're sitting in their own country, because they don't like their surroundings. They want to go inside the hall and see something which looks very pristine, very manicured, very nice. And that's why in 90s, you suddenly started having films where lead actors were all taken abroad. If not the whole film set there, at least the songs and dances. The songs and dances were all being shot in Greece and here and there, and because people wanted that whole foreign connection. It's an escapism. Then you had the kind of films which were almost like musical, you can call it, except that here lead actors don't sing their songs, but they're overloaded with songs, 13 songs, 14 songs, Ashiki, Sajan, whatever, whatever. So they are almost like tape recorders running in the hall. So story songs connect the story. It's not the story connect the songs. Sorry, I'm opposite. The story connects the songs. Songs don't connect the stories. So songs are thought of first, then some stories thought of how to link these songs, and then they were made. And this was a device started by T series cassettes to sell their cassettes. They had composers, they had songwriters, and they composed the songs, and then they went to a director and said, okay, ye hai gaane, bouquet of songs. Now think of a film where you can include these songs. It was a series of music video. So this was the second kind of cinema that was being done. And the third kind of cinema that was being done is what we call very filmy, very action, very hyper, macho, where the woman had absolutely nothing to do really, except do two, three songs and dances with the hero and get not charmed, but actually coerced into having a relationship with him. There's this extra uber macho guy who has to fight the villain multiple times throughout the film, hanging from helicopter, explosion, this, that, whatever, hyper dialogue, very hyper filmy. So these were the three kinds of films that were being done in the 90s. But surprisingly, television was very progressive. Television had women in the center who were working women, who were modern women, women who were making their own choices, inside marriage, outside marriage. It is very interesting. The storytelling in television was much richer than cinema. It was not escapist at all. When you saw a television series in the 90s, you were seeing the emerging reality around you. You are not escaping from the reality as you did in filmy hall. So cinema was filmy, television was real. This was the OTT wasn't there. Come 2000, just the reverse happened. In cinema, even in commercial cinema, we had a change of approach through a film called Lagan, which went to Oscars also. Lagan was based in village. It was about cricket. It was about anti-imperialism, nationalism in a way, but anti-imperialism. It had all the risky stuff which makes a film flop. All the actors were in dhotis and stuff, which in the film audience didn't like. The film was totally based in village. People don't like. It was a period film which normally people used to avoid. It was about a sport which people used to avoid in cinema, and it was about yeah, tax and all the stuff, taxation and all the stuff. And yet, Lagan kind of set the ball rolling for new, fresh voices to come into films around 2003. Next came Dil Chahta Hai. Strangely, again, Amir Khan was part of that. So came Dil Chahta Hai, which was about a young director talking about his generation, his experience of love, heartbreak, work, employment, unemployment, friendship, whatever you call it. Absolutely his genuine experience he wanted to put on screen. It was fresh. A new generation of audience had come in who probably could not identify with Khiladiyon ka Khiladi, Khatron ka Khiladi, Balwan, Shalwan, all those things that were happening. They suddenly moved to this, and Dil Chahta Hai became cult. And then one after another, this kind of cinema started coming. Rajkumar Hirani came in with Munna Bhai. Then Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra came in with what was the film? Which again had Amir Khan.
The Rang De Basanti.
Rang De Basanti came in. So you see the kind of films which were commercial. It had stars, but it was ensemble. It was not about one actor. Lagan had a huge ensemble. Dil Chahta had an ensemble. Dang De Basanti had an ensemble. Um, 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 uh, Munna Bhai had an ensemble. So they were ensemble acting. It was not just about one star dominating the whole film, one star beating up the villain, one star getting the heroine. There were some films where there were no heroines. Munna Bhai literally had no heroine aspect, even this one, Rang De Basanti, the heroine aspect wasn't there. So it took up issues which were real, which concerned the youth, and it put it up there in a manner which was entertaining, yet thought provoking. So this was a new stuff coming. And then a full movement through Anurag Kashyap, Anurag Basu came in, who were making these middle films or small films, as you call it. Anurag Basu made a series of films which touched upon these kind of little, what we call little people, common people, through Barfi or what do you call Metro, Life in a Metro, stuff like that. Anurag Kashyap was, of course, making films which were very hard hitting and very provocative with Dave D and Gangs of Wasseypur, etc., etc. So there was a big shift that was happening. And then we got hit by COVID. There was lockdown. Acha, in the meantime, by around 2011-12, the digital media came in. So YouTube came in, and there were content being created in YouTube, which is being done by youngsters, comedians, stand-up comedians. They came up with these comic scripts and all, which is getting very popular with Generation Y, Generation Z. And then Netflix came in, Amazon came in, and all of them came in. And storytellers came in. So the storytellers were kept out from the big films and all, suddenly could tell their stories through OTT. So this whole scenario was developing in a very interesting way. So there was the middle film, there was the sensible commercial film, there was the OTT, but television was full on filmy. Television had taken up everything from the 90s cinema, which cinema had lost. The flying pallu and the stubbled hero running in slow motion, all those poses and sighs and all those things, all the melodrama and stuff from the 90s cinema came into television in 2000, and it just went on and on. And reality shows came in, where people became voyeurs. Voyeurism was created for audiences. They would sit every night to voyeuristically watch what is happening in the life of celebrities or whatever you call it. So that was the shift. So cinema suddenly became far more sensible and progressive in this new millennium, and television went very regressive. In between came OTT with storytelling. But once COVID hit, and this 2 years sort of on and off lockdown happened, people got stuck at home. They got used to being at home and consuming. So this whole thing about going to cinema hall as a community and watching films was suddenly gone, and patronizing different kind of films was suddenly gone. You're sitting there at home, big section of audience consuming television, certain section of audience consuming OTT, and consuming good stuff. It's not, I'm not saying stuff, but it's still consuming, day and night you're consuming, you're watching. The whole habit of going out, making film an event. And next week on this day, the whole family go and watch this film. An event was gone from our life. And when the lockdown got over, a new kind of film hit the screens. They were big budgeted, very big, hyper, very loud spectacle, where the Pushpas and the KGAs and the RRRs, something which is not available, possible in small screen or OTT or anything, they were only possible in big screen. They were loud, they were hyper. There was this central figure who was doing impossible things, and there was the heroine of the women who was coming back with those item songs which were there in 90s. You know, those item songs which used to call about. So item songs become the centerpiece for the film to get publicized, each film. And the hyper hero wielding an axe or wielding a hammer or wielding whatever, flying from this place to that place, Bahubali. So suddenly every film was had to have a budget of 100 crore plus. It had to make revenue of 500 crore plus. So numbers became everything. Cinema, its subject, its treatment, the what the director wants to say, all that became something else. They suddenly developed a pattern that, okay, this is what is going to work. It's going to get us 500 CR, 700 CR, 1000 CR. So numbers came in, largeness came in, loudness came in, and the middle cinema and the small cinema just went down. So now, in last 3, 4 years, it has become next to impossible to release small films, and therefore difficult to make for small films. If they don't release, why will you make them? Some middle films are finding some way, if only if they are patronized or produced by big producers. So if a big producer like Karan Johar produces a kill, it gets released. If a big producer like Vidhu Vinod Chopra makes a 12th fail, it gets released. When a big producer like Amir Khan produces Lapata Ladies, it gets released. But apart from that, for other people, it is next to impossible to make a small film, slice of life film, and actually release it and get the audience to come in. Because now the screens are dominated by very larger than life films, whether it's mythology driven, which they call historical films, but they're actually mythological films, or these hero driven films. That the hero is back. The hero had gone out and real people had come in. Now hero is back in a full scale. So that is what is dominating that. And OTT is also changing because OTT model is now going through correction. Subscription is not working anymore. They had spent a lot of revenues in producing stories and they have not got their money back. So storytellers are now being sidelined. Big production houses are being patronized. Big directors are being patronized to come to OTT. They are inviting stars to come to OTT to get the audience and whatever. They're working out ad revenues and all. So everything is going through correction and confusion of market as of now, last 2, 3 years.
According to me, 90s was the era all about romance, romantic films, all
Yeah,
the rom-com cinema. Then in early 2000, they started exploring other genre as well. And then later
yeah,
on, I think now is a time when experimental cinema has gained more recognition. But one TV show or a film that you did maybe in 90s or early 2000s which you think can be
yeah,
remade today, or any subject that you saw as an audience and felt that okay, this subject should be remade today, maybe it did justice even back then, but you
yeah.
just want that today's audience should watch.
There was a series called Tara, which was made in the 90s. It was about this character, this professional girl who went out and sought what she wanted without apology. It was a very, I would say, independent, uh, confident, and unapologetic female character. Uh, so the first season of Tara, which was telecast at that time, was a very, very interesting, bold series, and I really, really, really liked it. And towards the end of 90s, there was a series made called Saas by Nina Gupta, which was about a marital issue and very sensitively done. I really liked the way it was done, very sensitive about the marital issues and problems. It was full of reality of what we go through, our vulnerability, our limitations, our desires, everything. So these are the two series which can uh, be done anytime. Uh, if you want to put today's young, independent, confident, unapologetic female protagonist in the center, it will be Tara again. If you want to explore marriage or stories of a marriage or stories of relationships today, it will be SaaS. You know, so these are the two stuff which is excellent. I think can be done. I did two series which mm, unfortunately is not very well known. I did a series which was my first TV series in Mumbai. It was produced by Anupam Kher and directed by Vivek Agnihotri. It was called Ye Kahan Aa Gaye Hum, which was a very interesting one. Vivek
I've heard
Agnihotri
that,
used
I
to,
guess. It was on
yes,
which
it was on
channel?
Z. It was on Z.
Z.
Z. It was a multi-star cast. Rohit Roy was there, Kittu Gedwani was there, Pallavi Joshi was there, Nikki Aneja was there. It was a multi-star cast thing. Uh, Vivek Agnihotri used to pick up stories from newspapers and write episodes out of those stories. And very, very well made. It had a glamour setup. It was very well made, looked glamorous, looked really nice to see. But it had undercurrents and emotions and ideas and stuff, which was very interesting for its time because no other serial looked like Ye Kahan Gaye Hum. Then if you remember another series which came up was Kakka Ji Kahe with Om Puri, which was a very, very funny comedy series where Kakka Ji was this
Yeah.
problem solver. So every time some problem would come out, Kakka Ji would come and solve it in a comic way. So that was something which 100% should be made, Kakka Ji Kahe, that a problem solving rustic man. That was very, very interesting.
I was just going through your Wikipedia and the shows I saw there. Waris, Aram, Kuch Pal Saath
That's it.
Tumhare, Mr. Gayab,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Antral.
Antaral
Those
was the
all,
one. Antaral was one of the last ones I did. Antaral is when Antaral was stopped and Kyunki Saas Bhi Kahun was introduced. Antaral was a series with Om Puri. It had a brilliant, brilliant setup and a great story. A father-son story where the father had not met the son. Son goes out to seek out the father and discovers that he's a god man, a fake god man. Son wants to be a film actor, but slowly the father grooms the son and makes him uh, his future god man. So that was the story, terrific setup. But when it was being screened and shown, they was Star Plus was planning this whole KBC, Kyunki Kaun Banega Crorepati and Kyunki Saas Bhi and all these things. So they took out all the shows from 9 o'clock onwards. Ours was a 9 p.m. show, and the new shows, the Saas Bahu religion started from that particular year 2000. It all started. So yeah, um, Kuch Pal Saath Tumhara was very good. I played a handicap in that. Someone who gets married, and before he even goes on a honeymoon, he's called to the border, and then he comes back without his legs. And now, how does he reestablish his marital relationship? How does he get his wife to love him again and stuff like it was about that. Asha Parekh had written and directed that series, Kuch Pal Saath Tumhara.
and now you're doing like you did Sacred Games and Hello Mini,
Huh.
Nagin, even Rising High.
Night Manager. I did Night Manager last year. I did
Yeah.
Black Warrant this year.
Blank Warrant, yes. So
Yeah.
what contrast do you see the kind of television and the shows that you did back then and now the kind of web series or the OTT shows that you're getting or television shows
Uh,
that you're getting now?
you know, television, what is most important television is emotions. That you have to emotionally grab the audience week after week. We used to do weekly shows. We didn't do daily shows. So people would come back because they are left with unfinished emotions. They will come back. In OTT, you binge watch. You watch it together. You don't come back next week. You don't come back when it's being dropped. You binge watch because the plot is driven in such a way that is taking you on a roller coaster ride, not just of emotions, but of intrigue, of social issues, of political issues. It takes you on that intriguing journey and cannot stop. So that is the success of OTT, where you cannot stop, you binge watch into the thing. But television had this thing that it left you with a certain emotion. And you said, what is going to, it's unresolved. I need to know what happens to her. How does she resolve this thing? Next week I'll get to know. So that was the journey of television, which was a very interesting emotional performative landscape. In OTT, it's more detailed, more research. It's more. Real characterization has to be there. You have to actually catch actual nuance. Black Warren was based in 80s. It had 80s mood, 80s atmosphere, 80s behavior, 80s surroundings. That has to be caught in the correct mode and stuff like that.
Do you think now everything is very short-lived in people's memories
Of
and
course, it will be. It will
like
be because
the
we moved into
fame that you
fragmentation, no?
saw it during early 2000, do you feel that actors that are coming now, would they be able to get the same place?
I am not sure whether things will stay with the audience as much. In those days, abhi bhi, the people keep talking about Banegi Apni Baat. And they keep confusing me. I didn't act in Banegi Apni Baat. But there were many people like me who were there. Maybe some even looked like me or some performed like me. So people keep confusing Banegi Apni Baat with me. But why does Banegi Apni Baat stay with them? Because
So you were a
it's
famous face of, early
uh,
2000 and people
I
remember
was I
you.
was there in a lot of work, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that those emotions that were delivered in those days, they stay. Today, it's more about immediate consumption. So the immediate consumption is coming from YouTube, it's coming from Reels, it's coming from 30-second shorts, it's coming from lots of reality shows in the night before going to sleep. So, you consume it and then you leave it and you move to the next consumption. That's the mode now. Earlier, it stayed with you. Those characters, their lives, their emotions stayed with you, and they stayed with you through generations. So you won't believe it, when I did Mr. Gaib in year 99 2000, it was a big hit with kids and lots of young people. Just day before yesterday, I was hosting a theater show, and there were actors acting in those plays who came and told me that we used to watch Mr. Gaib, and here you are with us now. In Black Warrant, there were actors who were in class 6 when I was doing uh, Mr. Gaib. I have actually acted with a girl. She played opposite me, who in school, I think she was in ninth, 10th in school, she used to watch Mr. Gaib. And then she played opposite me later on in a telefilm. So that was the lasting lessons or memory of emotions attached to the series in the 90s. Now it is more quick consumption. It comes, goes, comes, goes, comes, goes, comes, goes. Or in a daily soap, you're consuming it every day, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. It will stay with you at some level, the name or whatever. But will the emotions of an episode stay with you? In weekly series, you had one episode dropping every week. So every Thursday, you had to watch Waris. Every Tuesday, you had to watch something. So you came back next Tuesday to watch it because you were attached to those emotions. Today, something is coming daily, sometimes morning and afternoon and night. It's all coming, going, coming, going, coming, going. It's all.
I was reading that you did a movie, Bengali movie, Billu Rakosh.
Yes, yes.
Your performance was widely praised in that. And what was it about the character and the story that drew you
Oh, it
to?
was a very interesting character. It was basically about the confusion that the Indian middle class was going through in last 10, 15 years. When the multinationals came into India, so many entrepreneurships started in India. Everybody started seeing the good money. People were doing MBA, this, that, and they were starting with six figure, going into any figure. They were dropping this job, going to another job. The whole thing about this roller coaster IT ride, with the IT boom and other things started. People got hooked to lifestyle and upscaling their lifestyle through their jobs and stuff like that. The stable job, being in one company, all those things were gone. So Bilu Rakhosh was a very interesting character who aspired to be a singer as a youngster. He wanted to be a singer. He was a musician at heart. But the ambition of society, perception of society drove him towards IT. And he becomes an corporate IT uh, designer or corporate honcho. And he starts making a lot of money. Now he's moving away from his music. Now he gets married, to the person he loves, who was also a singer. So they got married because they both love music. Now, the woman is more interested in lifestyle. She's also forgotten music. They live with I mean, he lived with his parents, but the woman wants a separate setup. She wants a different kind of kitchen, different kind of what do you call gadgets and stuff like that, and wants to push the parents away slowly. Bilu is stuck between his corporate ambition and his musical aspiration. So he's neither there nor here. He wants to balance his wife and his parents, but he's not able to do that. So he is typical symbol of the modern society who is neither here nor there, but wants everything. So that's why Rakshash wants everything. The Bilu wants to be Rakshash. He wants to be a famous singer. He also wants to earn a lot of money. He also wants plum postings, but he also wants his parents to be with him, close to him. He also wants his wife to be happy, but he also wants his old house in North Calcutta. He doesn't want to leave his old heritage also. He wants everything, and that's not possible. So in the end, Bilu loses everything. So Bilu is a loser because he's a Rakshas. He wants everything. So this whole lack of clarity and the constant confusion in our life of which side to go, what to do, where we are losing the essential me. The essential me one forgets and keeps running. So Bilu Rakhsh was about that aspect. OTT series called Khakee Season 2 releasing on Netflix in April, or maybe it's March only. It's coming March. Sorry, March end. It's releasing on Netflix, dropping on Netflix. Khaki Season 2. I have a special appearance in that. Then I have a very important film on Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, one of the biggest, greatest social reformers of India, who was a Shudra, and he brought in education to uplift society and try to rid casteism from society. His wife Savitribai Phule was the first educationalist, woman educationalist of India. She self-educated herself and became an educationalist in 19th century, late 19th century. So it's a film on Jyotiba Phule where I play the antagonist, the one who opposes Jyotiba Phule. So that's coming in April. Then the Ravi Udyavar Bhansali production comes in May. And subsequently, I'll have two very interesting Bengali films also coming, which are all, they're Bengali, but they're very global films. They're very art house films. One is called Ohana, which was there in a couple of festivals around. It's doing a festival circuit. It's a feminist film. It's about a housewife um, who realizes that she's not given the due importance within the household, and so she takes a hard decision. So I played again the antagonist, the husband who probably could have been more sensitive. And there's another film called Pinjar, which is the cage, which is story of a bird man. But through the story of a bird man, it talks about various other cages that we live in, including my story. It has got three, four different stories. My story is also about a cage. So, there's a very interesting stuff. Yeah.
Before we go, I want to play like a quick 90s Bollywood theme rapid fire if
Oh,
you're
shit. Oh,
yeah.
shit. My Alzheimer will kick in now because, I keep missing names now. My names are not, I'm not very quick on the names anymore. I don't know why.
Okay, so favorite Bollywood movie from the 90s.
Favorite Bollywood movies from the 90s? Man, there's so many. But I really, really like Shah Rukh's Dil To Pagal Hai. It was it is the Yash Chopra film, right? Dil To Pagal Hai. I
Yes,
really
yes.
enjoyed because I like that kind of romance, which it wasn't real, but it kind of drew me into its charming, seductive emotions. I loved it. The way the boy and the girl don't get to see each other, get to know that they are the ones who are actually attracted to each other, and then find each other. Dil To Pagal Hai was one of them. Then the adaptation which Mahesh Bhatt did with Amir Khan and Pooja Bhatt um, uh, of It Happened One Night. What was that called? Amir Khan and Pooja Bhatt did that film, which Anupam Kher was the father of Pooja Bhatt.
Ah, I know.
Um,
I know this
Um,
film.
uh, yeah, yeah. So
I'm confused.
that was so entertaining and funny, and it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
inspired
Anupam
by,
Kher was there.
yeah,
Pooja
the
is there.
father.
Amir Khan
Pooja,
is
she
there.
runs away. The
Yeah,
daughter
yeah,
runs
yeah.
away
I love
and
that
finds this
scene
boy
when
who's a
she runs
journalist.
away.
Yeah, journalist wants to do a story on her,
Yeah.
and they don't realize when they fall in love. So I like this kind of romantic films, where it's unrequited for most part. It's audience wants them to find each other, but it's not happening, and then it happens. So I love them. So these are the two films which I really enjoyed in the 90s.
One Bollywood actor and
दिल है
actress.
कि मानता नहीं, दिल है कि मानता नहीं.
Yes, you have a better memory than me. See, so
Yeah, yeah.
one Bollywood actor and actress that you liked most from 90s.
Actress, so there are so many, but Madhuri Dixit's performance. I mean, she was known as the dancing queen, Dhak Dhak girl, all of that. But you see her performance in Mrityu Dand, Prakash Jha's film. Unbelievable performance. What an actress. So along with the Dhak Dhak, along with all of that, the kind of hard-hitting performance she could give was just too good. So yeah, so Madhuri Dixit, of course. And I was a hardcore Shah Rukh fan in the 90s. I loved everything that Shah Rukh did. I know he fell into a pattern. He did same kind of things, but I loved everything he did. I saw Badshah three times, just like that. I loved not Judwa,
Yeah.
that where he plays a double role. What is it called?
That duplicate.
Duplicate. I love Duplicate. So I loved all of that. That kind of physical humor that he used to bring, the energy he used to bring, the way he used to embody the singing, and that happy-go-lucky hero. I love because his characters were not negative in any way. They were not even gray. They were just happy-go-lucky. They just brought in happiness, took and happily went wherever life took it. So I loved. I was a big Shah Rukh fan in
Do you
90s
think
Shah
that
Rukh
is
fan.
missing now, that kind of cinema?
They gave you enjoyment. They gave you happiness. You came out of the hall feeling nice and happy. So yeah, 90s.
I think that's one of the reason people still love 90s movies and the shows that were made back then. Your one favorite 90s Bollywood song?
I think Shah Rukh's songs from Yes Boss. Chand tare
I love that.
love. That's my favorite song. I love that. I feel like jumping myself with that.
Best 90s Bollywood villain, negative character.
I think there were two. Paresh Rawal was the he brought in a different kind of flavor into villainy. He was a speaking villain. He didn't want to fight. He didn't hate anybody. He didn't do all those things. He was the speaking villain, the conniving villain, the acting villain instead of being villain. So Paresh Rawal brought in a. Before that, you had Amrish Puri, who was larger than life villain, who looked scary and scared you. Paresh Rawal didn't scare you, but his mechanics, his conniving, his strategies, the way he was vicious in a totally different way. You didn't realize while seeing him, but he brought in that villain.
Any 90s favorite dialogue or your dialogue from your movie?
दिल तो पागल है पलट पलट पलट
Palette was
also
in
not दिल तो पागल है दिल है
DDLJ.
कि मानता नहीं DDLJ one word.
Thank you so much for joining us today and making this so special. And I hope you continue to entertain and inspire us like you always have. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.